Hello, readers. This is Justin's 52 Books, where I discuss my selections for the 52 Book Club's 2023 Reading Challenge. And this year I'm doing something special. I'm reading only science fiction by women, and maybe a couple of adjacent genres, but I really want to explore the legacy of women writing science fiction with the Reading Challenge. This is week 11, and I'm doing prompt 11, a book about secrets. My selection for this prompt was Pilgrimage, the Book of the People, written by Zenna Henderson and published in 1961. So it's not too hard to find books about secrets. But that being said, I was looking for an excuse to start my journey with Zenna Henderson's The People, and this prompt proved to be the perfect jumping off point. So yeah, Pilgrimage, the Book of the People, is a fix-up, a collection of short stories from the pulp era that have been tied together with a loose narrative that connects them, and then produced and released and published in book form. And what it is, the people are marooned intergalactic travelers who have found themselves on Earth and are just trying to make their way through. The way they've done this is to isolate themselves in the North American West Desert area, like Nevada or Utah. I don't think it ever clearly states which one. And there are a bunch of scattered groups because the spaceship apparently blew apart and people got placed in and scattered and in this weird diaspora when it crashed. And we meet more and more people as the stories unfold. Additionally, they all have powers that they struggle to control because they are isolated from their home world and the people who would teach them how to use that. And they have elders who all got burned up and hurt in the crash. The crash had happened a long time before the events that we read about. The main group of the people that we meet as readers, Karen and Jemmy's group, are kind of the most well-heeled, well-off group, as they have a portion of the ship that they came down with, and they figured out how to mine and sell and live off of that. Other various people that the main group encounters in various stories are not as well off and are often found in need. And that's really what Henderson is about, addressing the needs of the people as a way to talk about our needs as humanity. Themes of charity, love for the other, even enemies, reaching out to the different and the quote-unquote other, holding up the disabilities as different abilities are all addressed, which leads to a real positivism in the work that you don't really see until much, much later in science fiction with the advent of Becky Chambers and Martha Wells and Annalee Newitt's now, what they call hope punk. But I love that positivism. I love the embracing of weakness that is inherent in the people stories. There's a tough tenderness to the writing that reminds me of my grandma, and I really got a kick out of that. It's a real gift that Henderson has in these books to take a fairly common trope, even at the time. I mean, this is the origin story of Superman, and make it into something so feel-good but not saccharine. The small additions that Henderson makes to the basic men from another world story, like the elders, like Obla, the sightless mute paraplegic that shares the thoughts and experiences with one of the young main characters, or even there's a neglected kid who learns how to use his powers through musical instruments. They're all really neat and really well done, and it makes for any of the typical first to have the idea arguments that we sometimes make about science fiction makes up for all of those. But the stories can be a little reductive, which kind of happens with most fics, to be honest. Even the best ones, like The Martian Chronicles or More Than Human by Theodore Sturgeon. There's also an unexplained whiff of Christianity in the stories, which I find interesting on one hand. Like, I'm okay, let's dive into a series about aliens from another world struggling with Christianity. But it's never questioned, it's never discussed, it's just assumed. So that makes the assumption that the characters are Christian and the readers are Christian, and that we're all Christian, and I just have a little trouble accepting that, even as a person who goes to church as a Christian. Also, the covers. I'm not a fan of the covers. Here's Pilgrimage. Where you got the old farmhand and the woman with the hoe and the spaceship in the back. And here's this one. The sequel is the No Different Flesh. These covers are creepy. And the creepiness inherent in these covers is not evident in the stories at all. And that's a real shame. Also, the covers are not my favorite. The covers of these books just suck. The creepiness inherent in both of them. This is the sequel, No Different Flesh, and the creepiness inherent in both of them is not great. I used a different cover for, like, a collective cover for the graphic, and I liked that one much better. But yeah, the farm hand with the woman hoeing and the spaceship in the back, and then this whatever's happening here with this little girl. Not a fan of those. Some other thoughts. I found out about Zenna Henderson last year when in 2 different sources, about 3 weeks apart. First was reading Xavier Dallow's The History of Science Fiction, and she was mentioned in there. And then later I was reading Kurt Busiek's Astro City, and he mentioned Henderson in one of his introductions. And when the universe tells you stuff, you should listen. And so that was just too much of a coincidence for me. So had to pick up Zenna Henderson. And I can't imagine there's too many science fiction fans out there right now who have heard of Zenna Henderson or the people. And that's a real shame. And while the stories aren't perfect, they do belong in the conversation and deserve to be brought along with us as we move forward. I don't like to dictate canon for science fiction, but I do feel sometimes like science fiction needs a collective suitcase, and we need to keep making room for new books, but we still need to reserve space for some of the old ones. And I'd like to submit that Zenna Henderson's The People should be packed into our collective science fiction suitcase, and I'll at least make room for her in my science fiction suitcase. I'm really glad to have spent the time, and we'll probably finish No Different Flesh when I get ahead on my 2023 reading challenge a little bit, because I really liked where Henderson went. Other books for this prompt about secrets. Annalee Newitz has a fairly new book called Four Lost Cities, A Secret History of the Urban Age, and I would recommend reading that, but I didn't because I'm already reading 2 other Annalee Newitz books for the 52 Book Club challenge this year. Another nonfiction book about secrets is Blind Man's Bluff, The Untold Story of American Submarine Espionage by Sherry Sonntag. It's an excellent rundown of secret Cold War submarine spying. Kind of a left turn for my often science fictional recommendations, but I was on a submarine and I can vouch that this book is interesting and informative and enjoyable. Science fiction wise, Southern Reach books by Jeff Vandermeer. Wonderful science fiction and full of secrets, really cool ideas. And then graphic novel collection, Mind Management, MGMT by Matt Kent. It's a series of graphic novels that are full of secrets, and I really liked those. And thanks for watching me talk about my thoughts on Pilgrimage, the Book of the People by Zenna Henderson. This has been week 11 of Justin's 52 Books, and I was talking about Prompt 11, a book about secrets. For more information on the prompts of the 52 Book Club, you can check them out on their website, the52bookclub.com. You can also check them out on Goodreads and Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty active on the Facebook comment section, so if you're talking about science fiction, we'll probably chat. And you can also check me out on Goodreads and Storygraph and Instagram, Justin's 52 Books. Hope to see you next week with Prompt 12, a high fantasy book. And I'll tell you right now, it's weird. Or weird? Word. Weird. It's weird. Until then, happy reading.